Welcome back to the Eric Krown Crypto channel, wishing you a happy healthy start to this nice Thursday morning here as we get prepared for yet another one, baby. We got some trap action going on right now, some BB trap action, which if you know what I'm talking about right now, you're probably an OG of the cave, and also you have some very weird fetishes, sirs, or zer, or who knows what the hell you might be calling yourself. Anyways, more importantly and to the point, I want to be going over what happened yesterday, how that fits into the overall model, if anything's changed at all, actually, and what's most likely to happen probably within this next, let's say like 10 to 14 day span. Anyways, other than that, I want to once again remind myself to suggest that if you find this content valuable, if you find this content in some way useful, please consider liking and derping and subscribing and also herping. Anyways, into the price action we go. I actually got a good night's sleep last night for once, which is quite nice. And let's start it off right on over here with the HPDR indicator. I've really been liking this one as of recent. It's been just really streamlined way of looking at support and resistance, and just, well, I think that the results kind of speak for themselves. So yesterday, the day before that, and basically the last, almost 5 days now, going back to the 14th when Bitcoin got into this range, we've been looking at the 90% to 80% returns range highs as a nice support and resistance levels marked off by these red lines right here. Now, things have actually changed since then in the last day, which we're going to go over soon, but you can see that once again, the LARP lines are, funnily enough, playing out, which is, again, not necessarily intended in that exact fashion, but you can see that Bitcoin found its low yesterday exactly where? Exactly at the top side of what we were looking at that 80% of historical returns range highs, after the rejection at the 90% returns range highs. So the range essentially held, nothing really changed here, and what's now happened is that the median, the 50% of historical returns range is actually exactly where price action is right now. So if you're looking at this from a mean reversion standpoint, which is what you do expect returns to do when volatility is cooling down, that literally happened. What does it suggest? It suggests that, well, this should probably be a low, at least if you're looking at the let's just call it 20,500. Again, I'm rounding up there from 450, but as long as Bitcoin's closed above there, I look at this as still, well, more likely to lead towards continuation than not, simply because Bitcoin is continuing to grind up against this region to the upside. And we're starting to enter into the realm of prolonged periods, as a lot of people are asking what essentially that does mean. Well, Bitcoin kind of stays here at least for another day, coming into Monday. Yeah, I would say that that's certainly within the context of the data. Anyways, now that we are once again in the 50% returns range, which is represented by this blue area right here, I would say, historically speaking, the downside move based off the volatility setup is unlikely to occur here. It's unlikely to occur. And if it does happen, probably looking somewhere down around about 19,800 to 19,900-ish region, which is actually where the CME gap is. So fair enough. Anyways, I'll go over the setup yet again. The setup is this. When the volatility starts to cool off, meaning that there is a decrease in close over closure on the volatility moving average, alongside a closure above the top side of the blue HPDR range highs, which happen way over here, then that actually initiates the setup. So that officially happened right here on the green vertical line. Now, that green vertical line, I did not set this up properly. Apologies on this, but let's just go over here to strategy number, I believe it's 16. Yes, yep, that's it. By the way, this is what the quant program looks like. This is for the HPDR indicator, actually, and let's go to the 12-hour time frame results. All right, so here we go. Once again, I made a note on this particular setup, avoid at all fucking costs in a bull market. It's absolutely fucking terrible. Perhaps this could be the start of one based off of the macro analysis that I've been looking at for a while now. Anyways, scrolling down the results, out of 50 setups with this particular signature, 31 worked in this way to the downside. So it did have a 62% strike rate, going all the way back to about 2017. With that in mind, I would say that that's a little bit on the lower end. I personally speaking, I do think that this one's going to probably break to the upside. That's just a personal opinion. Can I be wrong? That absolutely yes. I want to be going off the hard data, the hard statistics, and you make your own decisions because you're a reasonable and normal human adult, right? Kind of. I mean, we're in fucking magic internet money land, so maybe not. Who the fuck knows? Anyways, by the way, met Jason Pizzino last night. Absolutely fucking love the guy. He's great. He's amazing. Anyways, yes, so when this setup did occur, there's two very important things. One goes with the success of it, one goes with the failure of it, both equally of importance, which can give us major targets, in this case to the upside and the downside. So in the event of a win, so in this case for this being a short setup, that would be a downside move, and vice versa for a loss. But in the case of a win, the average percentage gained, or well, a lost on price action, but gained in your account, would be about just under 8%. And on the losing side, meaning an upside move, would be about 9.25%. First standard deviation measurement for the win side here, and for the loss side right here, and then a min max. We've seen some pretty impressive moves born upon that, alongside the average amount of days taken on the win side and the loss side. So seeing as this setup officially fired off on the 16th midday, at least for myself over here in Dubai, then that would imply, okay, 16, we're on, 16, so we're about 3 days into that one. So shave 3 days off that, between 4 and about 3 days on average. So we expect this to kind of occur probably around beginning of next week. What does that essentially mean? Probably ranges, today and tomorrow, maybe over the weekend as well, as weekends typically do that. But if we are going to be looking for this one to put in the move, very likely next week. That would probably be the higher probability play, at least in the way that I'm reading this data right here. Again, that's a bit more speculative in this case. Anyways, so let's go over what essentially would define this in this case, because it does have a slightly higher probability to break out to the downside. We could apply that 8% move to the downside, which would give it an intended, area of interest somewhere around, 19,500, which is around the bottom side of that blue range low now, that 50% range low. So, if it does continue, if it does essentially fail, or, if price action fails here, but the setup essentially succeeds, which would be denoted by the next piece of criteria being met, which would be a closure, especially on, this time frame, the 12-hour, maybe a 4-hour, even worse as well, below about 20,450 to 20,500 respectively, then yes, I'd be looking somewhere down around here. That's also around the CME gap, very likely a bounce. And personally speaking, I do think that would be like the next major low. It'd probably be a rather painless move. Below the 382, however, very fucking important, below the 382 at 19,350, I turn into a major bear. I don't think that's what's happening here. I don't think that's very likely, but of course, at the end of the day, my opinion is not necessary. If that happens, it's fucked, man. It's super fucked. Probably coming back down to the last weekly range lows over time. Maybe not necessarily in the same move. Anyways, like I said, on the failure side, it is just as important that the data is just as valuable. First off, what would define a failure? Closing above the range highs. Same thing as before, 12-hour closure above about 21,350, or 4-hour closure above about 21,500. One of those two would do it for me. And at that point, we could apply the average move at about 9.25% to the upside. And that would put Bitcoin at about 23,250. Keep that number in the back of your mind's eye, because that one's going to pop up a few more times. But I thought that was rather interesting right there. Personally speaking, going sideways a little bit more into the end of the week here is, I do think it's going to very likely lead towards continuation. So moving on to the next one, let's go and reference stochastic momentum. I've already given away my cards right here, but the 4-hour time frame is going to start to hit this regression trend line that has been building since the December 19th lows, connected with the 29th of December lows, and potentially the lows right here as well. Now, if Bitcoin can hold sideways, it will very likely turn back up, but on the next closure, probably unlikely, as it would need to close above 21,219 on CME. And that's happening in about 2 hours and 35 minutes. But the more sideways here, the more and more that number will naturally come down, obviously. Moving on, kind of discombobulated this, but let's go to the hourly. The hourly will load for fucking forever because, all right, fuck you. Oh boy, we done did it again. We done goofed again. Hotel internet. Stop it. Just stop it. Let me just refresh this and see what we can do about this. Oh, you bastard. How dare you? How dare you? All right. We're back. I've put in the internet code and hopefully this video is still working. Anyways, let's start off with the daily here. And the daily stochastic momentum will actually turn down on CME as we went over yesterday, assuming that Bitcoin continues to close below 21,700. So I do think that's, quite honestly likely today. 12-hour time frame is going to be continuing down below 21,350. 6-hour time frame 21,650. 4-hour time frame 21,200 as we went over, and hourly is probably probably down as well. Actually, no, it's up, or it's going to try to the upside at 2780 or so. So what does this essentially say? It essentially says that sideways here will favor the Bulas. Short term, yeah, I do think that it probably tries for a bounce back above 21. And personally speaking, again, I do think that this was kind of a trap move. I think a lot of people are like looking at this as, oh my God, I knew it again. The CPI, the Fed, what was it yesterday? The Department of Justice. They've banned an exchange that no one's heard of. It's like, okay. Again, I want to be going off of some more tangible here. As long as Bitcoin's above 20,500, I just don't have a reason to believe that this current setup has failed just yet. Anyways, so we've gone off that. 4-hour time frame is potentially going to be building some hidden bullish divergence here, as the 4-hour RSI is making significantly lower lows than what we even saw back to the 11th, so like a week ago. So again, short term probably tries for a bounce. Sideways here is going to favor the Bulas, obviously. Below 20,500, probably looking at upper 19s. Below 19,350 to 19,400, that's where the real problems begin at, in my opinion. So we've gone over that now. Let's go over this. Just want to remind myself that again, on the daily over here, we've had something that I actually put a lot of weight on. It's like the only moving average cross that I care about. I don't give a fuck about golden crosses and death crosses. Like, they're cool, but they have cool names, but don't think that they work all that well. But I'm talking about the yellow 21 and the green 55. They cross the upside right here, the silver cross. And basically you can see the results of what we've seen on all of the silver crosses throughout the full history of Bitcoin. I've gone ahead and back tested them here. I think there's like 30 iterations or so. Average move about 80, almost 82%. First standard deviation. Should denote that, on the lower side, on the trap sides, let's say, we've seen very shallow moves, like 12% moves, but Bitcoin's already made a 20% move. And for what it's worth, all of the prior trap moves were like 12% or less, actually, of which there were four. Yeah, about four. In this case, what I wanted to denote is that in this particular setup for this particular cross, when you do get a test down to the 200 or the 9, on the first test, that should be the first higher low, traditionally speaking. I won't go through the full explanation of this because you probably don't need it, and it's kind of more of a regurgitation of what I've said before. But I did also want to denote that the 5-day setup that we've been looking at, that we've been tracking, which I also won't go over the full setup on it, but tomorrow it'll be very relevant. Still has another day to go, and the very important thing about this is that there's going to be a chance, an opportunity to actually break this trend line that's been governing the highs since all the way back to August of 2021. If Bitcoin basically closes above $17,000 or anywhere above $20,000, really, it'll continue with that very, 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 very likely, and do something that it hasn't done in a year, about a year. So that'd be a massive change of behavior. And of course, this setup would still be viable as well alongside volatility expansion. So it's not really relevant today because it doesn't close until tomorrow, but just be aware of that. That'll be a big focus of tomorrow's video. Anyways, I think that's a good place for me to be leaving off on this particular one. I hope that this one serves you well. I wanted to once again talk about Shillbit, Bybit, and Dirtbit. Bybit, no, they have a good promotion going on. They got 0% on maker fees for derivative contracts, something that's very important to more active traders like myself, which you might be as well, which you might find value in. And there is a link to that promotion in the description below. I believe only my link allows for that as well. All right, cool. As always, wishing you the best of the best. Take care, much love, and see you hopefully soon.